Hello, I'm Claire Warden. I'm from Scotland in the United Kingdom, and I'd like to share a little bit with you about my views on something that I call nature pedagogy. One of the things that I'm experiencing as I'm travelling around the world is the children's disconnection to nature, whether that happens within their mainstream educational environment or their social environment with their family. There is a disconnect. For me, one of the key things I had to really do was to say, well, how are we going to address this issue? Because it can make us feel very disempowered when you look at the whole world. So what we decided to do was to really take several pillars of approach. And those pillars of approach have now allowed us to define what we're calling nature pedagogy. So the first thing we had to do was to look at an educational approach to working with children from birth to 5 called the nature kindergartens. Nature kindergarten spends 90% of its time outside. It's registered as having childcare and for education. In Scotland, what we wanted to be able to do was to create an approach to learning, and that meant that the methodology of delivery had to put nature right in the middle. When we came down to set it up, we found that there are a huge number of barriers to doing that, from licensing to planning to all sorts of myths and regulations that existed. So one by one, we had to work with those organisations, have those difficult conversations with people that maybe weren't from my own area of expertise in order to be able to say, why not? The result of that was that we set up nature kindergartens in Scotland. It's a model that exists to a certain extent within other parts of Europe and Scandinavia. But for us, we had to jump through a number of hoops about accountability, delivery of curriculum, assessment. So we've now created these empowering forms of documentation and consultation called floorbooks. We use talking tubs that use nature really as the vehicle for learning. So that's a different thing from saying we're going to just learn about nature, and that's going out and doing the Mini Bees project. It's also different from saying we're going to go out into nature, which can literally be, for many people in education, lifting the table from inside and putting it outside. But we wanted to create something around learning with nature. And learning with nature is the synergy. It's about the child as part of nature, but it's also about the vehicle and style of methodology and the methodology that we use within our environments from birth right the way through to 11 years old. And it's also about making sure that people value it. One of the measures of valuation in education is in the Inspectorate for Education. And so when the Auckland Nature Kindergarten was given outstanding in all areas of practice, the Inspectorate knew what they were doing, because for the first time they had not only registered an outdoor learning experience as a childcare environment, an educational environment, but they were also saying that this is as high quality delivery of education as you would get inside. So now you've got an equivalence, and when there's an equivalence of quality, then all sorts of doors start to open up. For us, one of the important things is advocacy. And so we did this in two ways. One is that I work at the University of Strathclyde and the University of Federation in Australia. So we've got two universities on either side of the world now that I'm working with to develop both undergraduate but postgraduate specialisms in nature pedagogy as part of their core training. We've also then said we need to bring people in. And so many people from around the world come to Scotland and engage with us in a residential study trip, whereby we can look at this innovative practice, which really has put nature at the very heart of everything we do. There's a number of books, there's a number of publications that you can have a look at. And if you hear this and you meet me at the conference, I'd love to carry on this conversation.